Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. Now, if you haven't already guessed from the thumbnail, my backdrop here might be a slight indication as to what today's video is about. I've had a few requests in the comments for a video on foliage, so that's what I'm going to talk about. And for this video, I've picked my 10 favourite foliages to use for floristry. When I'm creating florals, I really like to use foliage mixed in with the flowers that I grow. And the varieties that I use varies dependent on what kind of florals I'm making at that time. So I have foliages that I prefer if I'm building large scale installations, and I have foliages that I prefer if I'm making bouquets or bowls or anything where I require a little bit more of a delicate foliage. So these foliages will vary quite a lot, from tree foliage to shrub foliage to herb foliage. Some of the foliages that I've selected are evergreen, like this eucalyptus behind me here, because they're really useful for using in the winter and early spring months before the deciduous foliage has got any leaves on it. And quite ironically, Forsythia, which is this here, hasn't actually made it to my favourite foliage list. But I do really like it in autumn when it changes colour. So let's have a look now at the foliages that I've selected as my favourites for the style of floristry that I like to create. So let's start with a plant that begins with the letter A, and that is Abelia. I've chosen Abelia because it has so many benefits as a foliage. It's semi-evergreen, so in this part of the world it tends to drop a little bit of its leaf in winter time. In warmer climates it will stay evergreen throughout the year. It has a lovely, lovely multicoloured tint to the leaves, and it covers all bases for me. It works well if you use the longer branches in archways and large installations, but it works equally as well because it's got a smaller leaf in more delicate floristry work in bouquets, and it has the added benefit of having lovely little delicate flowers to it for a good proportion of the year. It's a really easy shrub to grow. There's lots of different varieties, but if you get the Abelia grandifolia, then that's the largest variety, and those shrubs will reach up to about 2 to 3 metres. So make sure you give it plenty of space if you are going to plant an Abelia. Then we'll flip to an evergreen variety, and that is Eucalyptus. I've chosen Eucalyptus because it's really, really versatile. Lots of people love it. It's very easy to grow, and it's really useful as a winter foliage. As you can see here behind me, these trees are absolutely huge now, and I planted these in 2021 from 9cm pots. I've got Gunnii and Parvifolia here, and I cut from these from September into March, and then we stopped cutting from them because the sap begins to rise in eucalyptus and it doesn't condition very well. So at that point they're actually coppiced down, where you can see that branch has come off there every single year, and this is how you get this lovely fresh foliage. Now it's the turn of a herb foliage. I've chosen mint, and definitely my favourite mint foliage to use is apple mint, because it produces really good long strong stems, and the leaves are covered with fur, which has a slightly silver tint to it. Added to that, you've got the scent, and it is definitely a winner. The only one thing I would say about mint is it doesn't hold well out of water, so I wouldn't use it in wedding bouquet work. I would always recommend that mint stays in water. Now, one thing we all know about mint is it's very vigorous, so it's definitely your cut and come again crop, and you may want to grow it in a pot to keep it contained if you decide to give mint a go. Now back up to the big tree foliage again, we've got oak. I find oak so useful. It conditions really, really well. It holds well if it's a warm sunny day and you're doing large scale installations. And if you time it right, at the back end of summer, you'll also get acorns on the foliage, which has got to be an added benefit. I like to use oak foliage for large scale suspended installations or archways. And then I shouldn't need to tell you about this one. We're up to the letter P. This is my ongoing obsession with Physocarpus, or ninebark as some people call it. I absolutely love it. We grow lots of different varieties of Physocarpus here. We have Dablador, which is the darkest variety we grow, Lady in Red, which has a slightly more red tint to it, and Darts Gold for a zappy lime lemony green. I also have a finer foliage which I like to use in more delicate work, which is called Little Joker. And Physocarpus has the added benefit that here in June it comes into a lovely creamy pink flower, and then these flower heads turn to stunning seed heads in the autumn. Then it'll drop its leaves because it is a deciduous shrub. Little Joker stays quite small and uniformed at a maximum of about 1 metre in height, and then the larger varieties can get to about 3-4 metres. So if you're going to grow Physocarpus, select one appropriate to your space that you have. Then we have Pittosporum. There is loads and loads and loads of different varieties of Pitto. An evergreen foliage that I find cuts quite well all the year round, although probably avoiding the heat of summer when it's putting on quite dramatic growth, and you can see for yourselves that the tops of the foliage will be quite limp. It can grow quite quickly during those months and it won't condition as well at that time of year. Next up, we've got raspberry foliage. I really love raspberry foliage, not just because you get raspberries from it, but because of the lovely arch that the stems have to them. And I find that really helpful if you're making bouquets, because it's got a really nice natural form and fall to the leaf shape. It conditions really, really well, and it has a vase life of up to 2 weeks. Now we come on to Spiraea. Now there's absolutely loads of Spiraea that you can grow, but definitely my favourite is the spring flowering Spiraea, which is Spiraea bridal wreath. It's one of the first delicate deciduous foliages that comes into leaf and flower for me here. Just like raspberry foliage, it has a lovely natural arch and fall to the branch shape itself, and it's great for combining with tulips, anemones and ranunculus and any early spring flowers. Once it's flowered, what's great about this Spiraea is it doesn't look tatty. It continues growing through the summer season with a lovely fresh green tint to the foliage, which turns yellow at this time of year. So Spiraea for me is a definite winner for a good proportion of the year. So next we've got Senecio or Brachioglottis. It has 2 different names, so I didn't know whether to put it in Senecio or Brachioglottis. Whichever name that you prefer to call this plant, it's absolutely brilliant as an evergreen foliage. If you haven't got the space to grow a eucalyptus in your garden, but you want a foliage that's evergreen with a silvery tint to it, I would definitely recommend that you would plant some Senecio. It's planted quite a lot in supermarket car parks, and I was a little bit snobbish about it for quite a few years, I will admit. But since growing it for floristry, I've realised how useful it is. It works really well early in the season with all the spring flowers. And just like eucalyptus, it's also great for working with in the winter months, especially if you're going to be making Christmas wreaths, to give your wreaths a more silvery, soft, sparkly tint to them. And then we have Weigela. That's how I pronounce it anyway. I probably said that wrong. Just like many of the other shrubs that I've been talking about in this video, there are so many different cultivars of Weigela, and you're bound to find one that works really well for you. Weigela is a deciduous shrub foliage that you can cut as a foliage, or you can cut it with the flowers on. And here's 3 Weigelias that I really like. So we've got Roseum, which has a fresh green leaf to it and then flowers in pink. We have Variegata, which is variegated and flowers in the same pink as Roseum. And then finally, a little bit more different, we've got Monet, which you can see looks like it has painted leaves in grey, pink and white variegation. Weigela is tough as old boots and fits really well into a mixed garden environment, but it's also great for cutting. So there we go. I hope you've enjoyed my little tour of 10 foliages that I like to use in my floristry. Believe me, there are so many more, and I had to eliminate some which I really like. If you'd like to share your favourite foliages to use for floristry, please feel free to do so in the comments below. Now next week I am going to be doing a tour of the polytunnels, because they are absolutely chock-a-block with plants at the minute at various stages that we're selling and overwintering. So I'm going to take you through and show you what I've been doing in there next week. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you then. Bye!